We're good. 3 o'clock.
Good
Hey,
morning.
none of the people in those videos had masks on. What's the deal?
I posted, we just posted a GoFundMe, by the way, James, I forgot to tell you,
Oh yeah,
because we need help. Well,
yeah.
and we put some pictures of the kitchen and stuff, and someone said, masks? I'm like, oh my God. No, there's no cooking right now. We can't have anybody.
Yeah, yeah.
We can't have anybody. It's online only. We're not allowed to. So basically, we can't do anything. But anyway, that brings us to the subject of.
Hey, before we get started, um, I'm glad you're wearing a hat because I heard that you lose 90% of your heat through your head. Is that true?
No, that's very ridiculous. It's
Really?
basically you lose heat wherever you are uncovered. And
Right.
if you're naked, you're going to lose heat everywhere. It's just because the head is always exposed. But if you go naked feet and you have a hat on, your temperature will go away by through the feet, right?
Oh, interesting.
So it's not good.
Interesting.
Anyway, so today we're going to talk about just one subject. I mean, basically,
We're going to talk about cooking schools and what it takes to run one.
yeah.
And I'm hoping someone will call in and tell us because
Because we're still trying to figure it out, right? I mean, it's new.
it's a lot of work.
It's a
Even
lot of work, and
even now, when you don't actually have students in the building, it's still a lot of work.
exactly. Now it's a new challenge because we have to figure out how to. You know what? That's funny that you mentioned that.
Don't cook naked. Now you tell me, Kenny.
I was wondering about it actually, but then yeah, okay,
Usually I stay warm when I cook naked because I'm right next to the stove, so
right. I'm on the stove, but yeah.
I get the oven cranked up. I'm usually quite warm.
So to open a cooking school, first of all, a cooking school that is a modern, how do you say that? Like a brick and mortar cooking school. That's
Right.
very expensive. Really expensive because you need a lot of extra tools that are pretty. You need
Hmm.
nice tools, right? You need nice knives and lots of pots and pans and lots of things for all the students. You need to be able to have them cut on all the tables. I mean, each table is about 1,500 to 2,000 bucks. And you need a lot of them. You need tools for everyone. Then you need to make sure that you have the teachers that know what to do. And the thing with teachers, you have to understand. I know everybody's a teacher now, but it's not true. You're either a chef or a teacher or both. But a chef usually is not a teacher because unless they do a lot of training, which some chefs do, they do training in the restaurant and they're very good at training. Otherwise, they are really terrible. They have no patience at all, right? And we need to
Right.
educate the patients. So, for example, when I have a new chef coming to Kitchen on Fire, those are really high-end chefs. They are really, really well seasoned. I have to retrain them into, and one of the first example is this. They're going to start, they bring their knives, right? And I say, don't bring your knives. I have the knives. If you see somebody banging your knife on the table, you're going to freak out.
Right.
I
Right.
don't care. I buy the knife for them to do stupid stuff. But you, as a chef, you're going to freak out. You're going to start yelling at my student. I can't have that happen, right? I've seen it. No,
Yeah.
no, don't touch. And I say, no, those are my equipment. I bought them to be broken. Let them play
Right.
with it. And sometimes
Right.
for chefs, you can see they're like, God, the kid, you have to forget that part, right? And then when you teach kids, I mean, the kids, they bang stuff, they put chicken on the table. It's it cannot be frustrating.
Right.
You cannot be frustrated. They don't know. If someone doesn't know, you have to teach them before you can yell at them, right?
Right.
I mean, we don't yell anyways, but you have to teach them first. You can't just So it's funny because you see people putting chicken on the table, and for example, I have a chef. I'm not going to say the name because he's a really cool chef, but he was pretty. At the beginning, he was like, oh, he was freaking out. I said, don't put. I'm like, no, it's okay. Let's clean it up here. The reason we don't do that is because you see that area now is contaminated. So we're going to take it out, put it in a bowl. We're going to clean it right away with a very strong solution of bleach or whatever. Even though I don't need bleach in my kitchen, but when that happened during the class, I have to immediately bring bleach. Right? We need to clean that and show them that it's okay, that they don't do that again, but it's okay. And then we have cutting board for the protein. So there's a lot of things that are not that people don't know. They do the most stupid stuff, but that's
Right.
why they're here.
Right.
So they're here.
If they were all chefs, they wouldn't come to your school.
Right, or even cooks. So all the protocols we have in kitchen, how to set in, the tongs. When you take a tong and you start taking some raw meat, right?
Right.
And then you're gonna go and cook it.
Uh-huh.
But that is contaminated, and you
Right.
can put that on the table. So there's stuff to do with these tongs, right? There's a place to go, or you can cook in the pan for long enough so the tongs become sanitated. Like when you cook with a spatula, right?
You go into people's kitchens sometimes at home, and they'll have one of everything. So they'll have one set of tongs.
Right.
They'll have, and you think, well, that's why you have more than one, because you can use it for raw meat, and you can throw it in the dish tray, and then
40. You that? Are you just saying that for or do you really remember? I doubt you remember.
It wasn't that long ago, probably.
At least he has a good memory, right?
There's an old saying that goes, "Those who know teach, and those that can't teach Jim."
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Gym? Man.
Gym, like, gymnasium, like sports.
Yeah, so that's another one also, how to championing. So again, Kenny, the thing is, we have a chef Lev comes in both kitchens he used to come every month and sharpen on the knife. And he was the only one with Chef Matt to touch the machine because we have a very nice machine, right? That was expensive. We paid good money for it, so we don't want to break it, and you don't want to destroy the knives either. So only two chefs were trained on that machine. And yes, we had to go and sharpen on the knives. Yeah. And then you need classes. You need to post all those classes. This is, it's a lot of brain work. You need to think, what do people want? What are people going to sign up for? What's the trend? So right now the trend is health. Cool, we like health. One of the big trends is vegan. But vegan is pretty limited, in my opinion. So I want to do some vegan, of course, because I like vegetables. I love vegetables, and I love to show how to cook vegetable stuff. But I love meat, and I love other stuff. And I want to be able to do like stews and tagine, and cook with lamb and chicken and fish and seafood. You want an array of food. That's how you get healthy.
Right.
You focus on one thing only. It's with the motive. And
Yeah.
then you have to have the staff. You have to pay them way more than the restaurant.
Right.
So this is where it becomes difficult. Cooking school, you have to pay the chefs a lot, and that's fine because they're teaching. They're not, they do. It's worth it to have a good chef that teaches well. We have some chefs we pay a lot of money, but it's worth it. We sell the class. We used to sell them at $125 or $135 per person. So it makes sense. We can pay them, and we can pay the rent, and have a beautiful kitchen, and we can pay all this, even if the profit was low. But pay the bills. That's fine. But now it's all gone. Now it's all gone. Now we've switched everything to online. We can't buy the same way, but we have to keep going, and that's what I'm doing. And I'm not. We're going to keep going. We get more and more business online, obviously, and that's why we have this GoFundMe campaign, because we need to be able to sustain for enough time so we can switch the complete business around, because I don't even know when weed can be reopened legally, like legally.
Right. Right. Well,
Having people next to each other, right? Restaurant is different because restaurant is what? I mean, restaurant is outdoors only, which is good because it rains right now. That's perfect.
yeah. I mean, I think it'll be relatively soon, but it's not going to be for months. I mean, it may not be till the end of the year that you'll be able to open, but
I
we'll
don't know.
see.
I don't even know if I can open this year.
Yeah.
So for me, I have to immediately, what have we done? We went online immediately and I have all these cameras that I already show you one day. But I put 5 cameras, I really built the studio entirely.
Yeah.
I cannot do outdoors, my friend Kenny. Yes, that's of course we thought about it and there's no way we can do that. Yeah. Thank you.
I mean, you could do it in the nicer months, but it would be costly because you'd have to have a whole setup,
And
and you'd
also
and you'd have to be able to move it around.
how do I charge?
Yeah.
Where do I go? First of all, I know how do people do their. This is hands-on. I
Yeah.
have I have burners for everyone. I have 2 kitchens that are completely equipped.
Right.
That is useless now. All this money I spent on that kitchen is unusable.
Right.
I have to spend more money on cameras and stuff like this, which I didn't have. You know what I mean? It's like I have
Yeah.
this beautiful kitchen. It's amazing equipment that doesn't do anything. It's just
Right. Hey, I want to answer Kenny's question about the knives. First of all, I find it interesting that he shaves with his knives. That's a good use of equipment. It saves on having to buy razors.
I think it's
But
just
I think you need to teach people, even young people, even kids. I think you need to teach them how to handle a sharp knife because
yes.
as we've talked about on the show, sharp knives are much safer than dull knives. They don't slip around as much. If you do cut yourself, it's a cleaner cut. It's
Yeah, no, true. Yeah, it's funny how you said that.
But I think if you're going to hand people sharp knives, then you need to teach them how to use the knives, which you do. And I think it's important, and I just think you never want to have less than sharp knives to cook with. It's
And then
just not.
there's something funny about teaching cooking is that has not really evolved. I mean,
Yeah.
cooking is cooking, and teaching is you either are very pedagogue. You say pedagogue,
Right. Yeah.
and you really go slow and low and very very patient with the people. They learn fast. As soon as you raise the voice or you get stressed, then people get stressed too. So you have to
Right.
be really. So you need to be able to like not see what the mistake they're doing and just keep going with that. But everybody needs to cook. And cooking school, what they do, they replace parents.
Yeah. Right.
Parents used to teach how to cook, or cook, at least cook at home, and then the kids, like me, I learned from my mom, not from my mom. I learned looking at my mom.
Right.
She didn't teach me. She was like, yeah, this and that and that. No, there's no teaching. You have to stay there and learn and learn and learn, do it. And then after a while, you got it, but there's no teaching. I have not met anybody in my generation that was taught like by their aunt. They learn from their family, but nobody's been taught.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's like, and then I work in restaurant. Chefs don't teach you. You just look. It's not complicated. You see the same movement over and over, you get it, and then you try, you mess it up a couple of times, done. And
Right.
that's what cooking schools are. And cooking schools should be required, and they should be required for all doctors, all of them. They should
Yeah.
have
I agree.
class. Otherwise, they are not doctors. I'm sorry. Sorry for the doctors out there, but no. You need to learn how to cook, and you need to tell your patient how to do little things. Simple, nothing crazy, no fancy stuff. How to braise veggies, roast veggies, cook a couple of protein. Really basic stuff. But this is unbelievable.
Well, Hippocrates, who's considered the father of medicine, and there's still the doctors take a Hippocratic oath.
Yeah.
Hippocrates said that you should look for your medicine in the stew pot.
All right.
And, I mean, I think modern medicine is a great thing, but it's relied on much too heavily. And I think a lot of times.
I'm not sure what it's for. If you have a good health, I'm not sure what it's for. But whatever. This is another.
I mean,
Like
I'm glad that I live in the era of antibiotics and certain kinds of pain medication. You know, they're useful when you really need them. But for the most part, I mean, I've known how many people I know that take tons of high blood pressure medication. They don't do anything to modify their lifestyle.
Right, exactly.
But if the doctor says take this, they take it.
So I work with the Kaiser a lot. Kaiser is very progressive. They're really awesome people because all they want to do is learn about food and stuff like that. It's really, it's very cool for me to work with those people because that's exactly what a doctor should be. I'm
Right.
not saying that other hospitals don't do. I don't know. I don't work with them. But that making food is the key. It's the start. If you want to talk about how it's taught, I mean, Hippocrates. I'm going to tell you a funny story. Actually, Hippocrates was born in the island of Kos. KOS. This island in Greece is the island where the oldest families in Greece are from. And 12 centuries before, that was supposedly from the Zeus and the Apollo and stuff, where Artemis born.
Uh-huh.
Artemis was the twin sister of Apollo, right?
Right.
And then she became, anyway, I'm just going to go shorter, but Artemis was from the, I forget the name, the centaur. Her son was called Aspiclus, and Aspiclus was brought up by the centaur, the monster with the.
Right. Half beast, half man.
And then he was the medicine man. He was trained on medicine. Artemis gave the name Artemisia to the plant that we have to do, to wormwood. Wormwood is Artemisia. That's from Artemis. This is from how old that is. So you have to understand those medicines are that old. And
Right.
Artemisia annua, as I was telling you a few weeks ago, is what goes in wormwood, in absinthe, and this is what they use for COVID in Africa. You know what I mean? It's like, this is one of the most general, interesting.
That is interesting.
So Hippocrates, yes. And most doctors that I know, they are in this business to help people, all of them. All of them I talk to, the first thing is to help people, but they don't have the tools.
Right.
So
Well, when you think
them, and cooking school should do that. Should pair with hospitals, or they should build their own cooking school. But we should be doing that with the doctor all the time. They should be training on this, and most of them are. But we're still really, really far away from having people distributing food more than medicine. But anyway, sorry.
Well, it's interesting because you and I today can go buy a book, and I'm sure we both have books that you can look up herbs, and it can say, here's parsley, and this is what parsley's good for cooking. Here's what it's good for health. We can look all that stuff up in a book or online. But 1,000 years ago, you didn't have a book like that. It was people.
There was books.
Well, there were books, but the way those books came together was people out experimenting with these herbs and spices and roots and barks, and they were coming up with ways. They would examine them, and they would find ways to cure sickness with these things. And the medicine people were very wise, and they studied and they dedicated themselves to doing this.
They studied by observation.
Right.
They had the time to sit for weeks, sitting down, looking at the flower, looking at the plant, looking at what effect it has on the insect comes, the animal comes, year after year after year. This is something we do not do anymore. We have no clue. We can't.
No, we sit for hours at a time and watch television now.
Yeah. Crazy, huh? No.
Yeah.
So, and to go back to Hippocrates, which is very interesting.
You knew him, right? You knew him.
I know his sister. But Hippocrates was his first dispensary, which is called Apicius Temple, was near a pond of horseradish. Watercress. Again, watercress was one of the first medicine, and today is one of the most potent medicine for a lot of ailments, especially any chest congestion, any of that. So it's pretty interesting to see that this is old It's been used all these centuries.
Yep.
And today we still use that, and they're still as potent. If you eat watercress, it is so powerful. This is like a cyanide. It's a mustard. It will kill.
Yeah.
It's a poison. You use that good stuff. You can. You see what I mean?
Right.
So cooking school again. We need to teach cooking, health, how to eat. All food, not just one type of food, because people change their mind all the time. Someone who's vegan today can be meat eater tomorrow, vice versa. Someone meat eater can be. So you need to understand how to cook everything right, because who knows what you're going to think later.
Yeah. Well, and it's sad too, because people say they want to become a vegan, or they want to eat gluten-free, or they want to lose weight, or they want to just be healthier in general. So, but they find themselves relying on all kinds of processed foods from the grocery store.
That's another
And
point. Yeah.
even if you're buying processed food from a health store or a natural food store, it's still a processed food. And if you just learn how to cook, you can bypass all that, and you can make food that's way more healthy.
I mean, there's so many diets right now that I don't even know. I don't even know all of them. I'm trying to see, like, eat good food, eat real food, really. Just and if something doesn't, if you don't like something, just remove it.
And people that are struggling with their weight, if you cook everything you eat, you're going to naturally weigh less, because you can't just reach for a box of something and start eating. You have to go to the kitchen, do prep, cook it, prepare it.
But for that, you can also do cooking. You could cook once a week, or have a couple of friends over. I always say, it should be so much fun to have a couple of friends, maybe not now, and cook like your whole meal. It's a fun party. They have a party. And,
well, and a lot of people set up their kitchens now. They have big islands so that more than one person can be working at a time, and it's really fun. You find more difficult to absorb a skill with
It's super fun. It's completely fun. There's nothing more fun than that. You don't need any extra. You don't need cardboard. You don't need cards. You don't need nothing. Food. And you can discuss, have wine, have a party. Really, that's what people do. It's really cool. When I lived in the summer, we had this farm in the south of France where the whole family would come, and all the women cook. But still, all the women, they were having a great time. All my aunts on the kitchen, it was an outdoor kitchen. Man, they were having a great time and chatting the whole day, cooking and making
drinking wine, probably.
Oh yeah, drinking wine and whiskey and smoking cigarette all day long. It was fun. It was fun. And this is something that is missing today. Missing. How do we get back to gathering together as a whatever? You don't have to be a family. You just be a group of people. And we're completely isolated, and now people are completely stressed.
Well, and you talked about learning to cook from your parents, which used to be the common thing. Even if they didn't actually sit you down and instruct you, you were around them. You saw her doing things. Well, there was a whole generation in this country that simply didn't cook. I mean, in the 50s and 60s, there was a whole generation of people out in the suburbs that just didn't cook food from scratch. And so therefore the kids never learned it because they weren't around it, which is why there was such a boon in cookbooks through the 70s, 80s, and still today. That's why cookbooks became such a thing, because people had to have something because they didn't know how to cook. So, yes. So when you so what's it like for you to plan a class? Like if you had a class tonight, which you probably do.
Not tonight. This is my boys. I have my son tonight, so we're going to a party. I mean,
speaking of which, Finley's going to know how to cook. He already knows how to cook, right? He's been around you and his mom, and
both my sons. No, I taught them. I really took the time to teach them really well.
Well, Archie's even cooked professionally, so.
Yes, a little bit. He's
a little bit.
Bartender, but he's very good cook, very good. Both of them are great. It's important if they want a family. Anybody that has a family needs to cook. Someone needs to cook in the family. I'm sorry. This is it. So it doesn't have to be fancy. Trust me. My mom never did anything fancy. She did it very rarely, because my mom, she likes to go in restaurants. she was not really doing the fancy stuff, right? She loved doing it. My grandmother was doing the fancy stuff, like the whole the venison with the ground butter sauce was like the thing cooked for 2 days. I mean, my mom she likes to go in restaurants, so anything fancy, it was outside.
Right. That's the way I am. I cook very simple food. And if I want something elaborate, more elaborate, I go out.
And the flavors are awesome. It smells good in the house. It's exciting. People are happy. You are delivering some happiness in your house. It is super crucial. I don't care how stressful life is. Once you go in your kitchen and you smell all these goodies and you have fun with your creation, you create from start to finish and you accomplish something. That is a huge deal because a lot of people they don't do their work. They are late on something. They didn't do this. But just the fact to cook something from beginning to end,
Right.
huge achievement, and your ego is boosted, your happiness is boosted. Everything goes back to
Well, and there's nothing better than being invited to someone's home and you walk in, they open the door, you walk in, and the first thing you notice is the aroma of cooking food.
oh
You've got
my
this delicious
god,
aroma, and somebody hands you a glass of wine, and the rest of the night is just spent,
yeah,
around
absolutely.
these aromas and around food and
And
conversation.
Jan, now that you mentioned that, I don't think there's a better time to have a. I mean, I'm sure there is. Like, there's parties all the time, but most of my favorite parties were when you greet in the kitchen, right? I mean, you just
Yeah,
hang out and you kind of cook, you kind of eat. You eat as you cook. You stuff come out, people munch. You spend
yeah.
the whole evening doing this. I mean, it's very pleasurable. It's super pleasurable, right?
I've always been fortunate to have large enough kitchens that people can be in the kitchen while we're cooking,
Even
which
if
is
you're a
really
small kitchen,
nice.
even if
Even, and
you're,
most of the time they don't do anything. They just want to sit there and drink wine and watch you cook, which is
or not
fine
even
with me.
food.
Yeah.
Like in Paris, we have small kitchen, and people are like this.
Yeah.
The difference in
Right.
France is people are smoking also, but
Right.
they're all like, they're all in the kitchen. They're all in the kitchen, smoking, drinking, putting stuff in their mouths. It's fine.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
So,
and whenever I used to cook for people, I would always have little bits of things that I would say, here, eat
yeah,
some of it,
right.
try this. And I'd put something over there and they could munch on it. And yeah, it's great fun. Great fun.
So
Cooking
how
is,
do we so how do we get people to get more involved? And I know it's difficult right now, but I'm not trying to tell you to like break the confirm or whatever. But there's Zoom. Like for example, we do a lot of cooking classes online, and a lot of people from families that are completely displaced,
right.
Wisconsin, Idaho, South Carolina, and they meet on Zoom to do classes. It's awesome, and they have
Right.
fun, and it's like, and all of a sudden, it's not that we are back. We're not back, but it's much better than nothing. We need contact, and I
Well,
know it's
listen, during the pandemic, there are families, our family is all in the area and we don't see each other. The only
yeah,
time we see each other is through phone
yeah.
chats or Zoom because everybody's off, we're all sort of isolated. So, but I think a lot of people have been cooking more through the pandemic. They're stuck at home. They get
Yes,
tired of takeout. I mean, there are people that live on takeout food for sure, but
they
a lot of
are.
people get sick of that and have
Well,
have tried to learn new things.
the funny thing is, so yes, you're right. People cook way more, but a lot of people get very discouraged already.
Yeah,
They're already done. They're like, oh, I can't take that anymore. As that's not the way to see it, and the way you want to learn how to cook or cook, you need to make sure that you enjoy it.
yeah.
And well, we're not going to resolve that today, but yes, that's the way it works. It's how do you always have fun in your kitchen? Well, make your kitchen fun first of all, right?
At the beginning of the beginning of the pandemic, when people were told to stay home, there were all kinds of articles and bloggers that everybody was trying to learn how to do sourdough bread,
Well,
which I
I
thought was
know
really
the
funny.
bread, man.
Hey, it's a
Wow.
great time to learn a skill like that. You got plenty of time.
I know that's fantastic. Like that I like a lot. I like to
Yeah,
see the cooking online. I like that. So I'm optimistic that. I mean, I know my business is going to go up. It's very shy right now. It's going to be a very difficult time for another 6 months to a year. I'm going to have to suffer, and I don't know what I'm going to do for all the rents and stuff. But eventually, I'm going to make it through. because online it's here to stay, right?
Right. Right.
So it's not going to go away. Even though I
Right.
can't charge a lot of money, I think it's a sustainable business. Cooking school, hands-on cooking school. I'm not sure. I'm not sure
Yeah.
when we're going to be able to reopen. Maybe a year. I have no idea. First of all,
Well,
we're not allowed to. So that's
well,
that's
hopefully it'll be before Christmas, but maybe it won't be until
who
next
knows,
year.
man. But online, definitely, we're going to try to make it better and better. I've already a bunch of cameras, and it's looking really good. And hopefully, people can, greet and have, fun.
Yeah.
For an hour to remove the stress, right under your day, right?
Well, we'll talk more about this.
Yeah.
That's it for today. I left out Ziploc packets of start. Oh yeah. I mean, the whole bread thing was wild. I didn't get into it. It's too easy
Me
to buy
neither.
great
Me
bread.
neither.
There's so many great places to buy bread in Berkeley that I never really bothered, but we cooked a lot of other things. So anyway, thanks everyone for joining us. We'll see you next week.
And Friday. Good to see you again.
Yeah, Frode. So I'm glad your memory's still working, Frode.
He knows how to type English. That's good. Friday is in Norway right now.
Yeah, right. All right, we'll see you next week. Thanks
you.
for joining us.
Bye,